Okay, great. Good morning. This is Rosemary DeTrolio, and this is the Lightwalker's Path podcast. And I'm your host and your guide. And this is a place to find your soul's purpose, hear enlightening conversation, and hear inspirational words and meet inspirational guests like today's guest, Dean Graves, health counselor, mental health counselor, podcaster, author, keynote speaker, meditation and mindfulness instructor. And I'm really excited to talk to you today, Dean, because you're right up my vibe here. So welcome, welcome. So happy to meet you.
Thank you. So delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I saw some very interesting things that you do here, and I wanted to ask you a few different things about your journey. So first thing is, how did you come upon starting this wonderful journey that you're on to help other people? Where did it come from? Did you have it as a child? Did it hit after a trauma or a certain time in life? How did you get to where you are now?
Well, my transition was not particularly unique. My transition happened about my 50th year, and it occurred after an awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And an awakening is an often misunderstood concept, and obviously it's been bandied about by our political gurus today. But an awakening is nothing more than that point in your life where you have the awareness that all this stuff that you've been
Uh-huh.
doing may be deemed to be successful, but it's not making you happier.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all an awakening is. But what has
Mm-hmm.
happened in that moment is your awareness that heretofore has been pointed outside of you. Awareness is directional.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's pointed outside of you, then we're reinforcing our hierophant, our
Mm-hmm.
false perception of self.
Yes.
And that transition turns that awareness around and begins to point it inside.
Mm-hmm.
And when you begin to point it inside, then you have the awareness in order to facilitate healing as well as self exploration, and you assume responsibility for your progression through the evolutionary process. And it's a very strategic point. It can happen when you're a teenager, it can happen when you're 80 years old,
Mm-hmm.
or it cannot happen for multiple
Yeah,
lifetimes.
that's right. That's right. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. It's so interesting. So I'm an angelic channel. So I have gotten information and such as well. And one of the things they say is God hides your greatest gift right under your nose where you probably aren't going to look for it right away. And that's
Hmm.
like that inner journey of knowing like what your purpose is. And I think you're so right with once you're more inner directed, you don't need to poll a million people to know what to do because the answers are in you when you're directly connecting and when you're
Right.
looking inward and you're getting that. So I love your podcast show is called Simple Enlightenment, Plain and Simple, Enlightenment, Plain and Simple. And I thought that was really a beautiful way to put it because people make it so complicated when it could be easier. So, what is one of the easiest ways that I know you're a meditator? So, is this one of the things that you always guide your clients to start with, or is there another step that is your first easy, simple step that you would tell your clients?
Well, everyone, and I do mean everyone, comes to meditation because they're running away from the stick,
Mm-hmm.
and the stick hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And so, consequently, in my own situation, was the same. You begin meditation with hope that meditation is something that you can do, number one, but number two, that it's going to provide you with the alleviation of the pain from the
Mm-hmm.
stick, from the
Yeah.
stresses that we experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell my students that you'll still run away from the stick for a while, and you'll go through the stages of developing the capabilities of inwardly direct your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And you reach a point where all of a sudden, one day, it can be in 3 months, or it can be in 3 years, or whenever, you get a bite of the apple. and you
Mm-hmm.
can substitute whatever it is that you like for the apple. I had one guy who says, I really like lasagna. I said, okay, so you get a bite of the lasagna, but your motivation transforms from running away from the stick to getting more of what you like by chasing the apple or the lasagna or whatever. And once you reach that point is when you truly begin to make progress in your personal healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because although we're healing, we are designed to create a false perception of self.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that with every incarnation.
That's right.
But underneath that false perception of self is our authentic self, and it's always
Mm-hmm.
there. And so the process that we are pursuing is the getting rid of the garbage that we piled on top of our authentic self and
Love
allowing
that.
more of that authentic self to emerge.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I was thinking of like an onion or the petals of a flower. So our lifetimes are poured into different containers with different ego personalities. And the point is to move that stuff away and get back to where that soul level is. And I love that you're teaching people that process of authentic self. I think a lot of us lose, a lot of people, a lot of my clients, they have lost themselves in the process of chasing something that's not and not who they really are or what they really
Hmm.
want. And they might
Right.
be chasing money or this or that, and it just derails them for so long until they hit a wall, and then they have to come back to, why aren't I happy? Where's my authentic self? What do I do? How do I bloom this thing? So, it's beautiful. So you also have another podcast, chatting with the Arcturians. And what's interesting is I've channeled like Orion and some other entities of light. So I was interested in how you perceive this and what the purpose of that podcast focuses on for you and for your people, for your listeners.
Well, my domestic partner, significant other, whatever uh, term works, is an Arcturian channel, a vocal channel. And
Okay.
so we have a chat, and she brings the Arcturians in, and we chat about whatever they think is important or whatever I think is topical at the time. And we discuss that primarily from their perspective. They are um, a older sister, parallel
Mm-hmm.
explorer of creation.
Mm-hmm.
They've been in the system longer than we have, and so they have some experience and some wisdom, but they are very high consciousness. They speak to us as one voice, but
Mm-hmm.
they are a nine-star system, as we are part of a nine-star system.
Love that.
And so they've been guiding us for a long time, and we just chat.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, I was told when I started channeling, I was channeling angels mostly, and then one stepped in. It was from Orion, and then I got another one, but I was told they were high consciousness. And one day, this is weird. I, I woke up almost in a trance, and I went to my window. Now I'm in New Jersey, so this stuff isn't as common. I'm looking out the window, and I saw a spaceship. And all of a sudden, it beamed energy to me and it said, we're looking for enlightened souls because we have consciousness to share. And so, thank you for your work. And then I didn't see it. I went back to bed, and, kind of forgot about it till the next morning. But it was
Hmm.
such a strange experience to have. And, it was amazing to me. But I also know that, everything's created from creation. So it would be kind of silly to think we're the only species that are existing that have anything to say or to do.
The universe is a very busy place.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
it did. That our perceptions of that are planned to be challenged in the next couple of years, and
Oh,
so
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I look forward to those
Yeah,
changes.
me too. What state are you in, Dean? Are
I'm
you?
in Tennessee.
Oh, you're in
Yeah,
Tennessee. Okay. I
yeah.
know that a lot of like, you hear a lot about this in Arizona and Area 51 and all these other places. And I think this information has been around so long and it's just been hidden. I know like it's even on some of the ancient texts and pictures, and it just fascinates me that
Well,
we've been
what we
kind of
perceive to
blinded.
be ancient is all simultaneous. It's all now.
Yeah,
There is
past.
no past. There is no present. Time is
I
is
agree. It's not linear.
horizontal rather than vertical.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I love that idea too. And I do know that that's true because that's why we can read past life because it's really happening now and it's parallel and it's all kind of intermerged. Love
Yeah, and there are multiple versions of simultaneous Earth,
that.
and so we've been there and we're going there at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We exist in all levels of conscious simultaneously. It's just our limited capacity to
Mm-hmm.
be aware of that. There's no such thing as distance, as space. It's just simply
Mm-hmm.
vibrational difference.
Vibration. Love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I find that the frequency is raising for those of us that are ready for the frequency to raise. And for those that are kind of stuck or not ready, they're really struggling. So a lot of my clients will come to me and they're like, I'm stuck. What do I do? Where do I go? And I know you might have seen this with some people that you have also seen through searching and through your own experiences in your business. What's some of what do you notice about people that are coming to you now in this time of history that's so divergent? Are you finding that?
Well, I'm seeing. I still work part time. Is not even really part time. At a mental health facility, and so I see the most dramatic changes in the people that I would say are the least functional,
Okay.
and so consequently, their degree of lack of functionality has been greatly escalating in the past 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
And that's continuing to decline. And one of the tasks that we have, we experience a range of consciousness which
Hmm.
is a very low range of consciousness.
Right.
And we are very low within the range of consciousness and our what we have been able to achieve, and there are reasons for that. But the the general condition of the earthly population is one of chaos.
Hmm.
And one of the tasks of our range of consciousness in order to prepare to graduate to the next higher range of consciousness is to make a very strategic decision, and that strategic decision is to decide whether we are going to polarize service to self or service to others.
Hmm.
And we do that by virtue of our behavior and our interpretation of the experiences and the thoughts that we process, but it determines the nature of our evolution for the next several ranges of consciousness. So it's a strategic decision that we make, and the population as a whole of Earth has not really reached the point where they can make that, they have the awareness in order to make that
Mm.
decision.
Hmm.
And so things have been
Exacerbated. Yeah.
intensified
Hmm.
from both an external spiritual standpoint, but also from Gaia themselves,
Hmm. Yeah.
in order to compel us to reach that point of making a decision. And you do that by making people uncomfortable.
Yeah. You know, it's very strange. I had channeled something probably about 15 years ago about an overhaul that was coming, and I've been getting information for years about this. But I think they showed me a breaking point was a worldwide problem, and then COVID came in. And
Hmm.
one of the things I think it did was it cleared a lot of energy and it also moved energy because people that were stuck at home with their own emotions had a choice of either going this way or that way, and it was really I guess a choice point. So
Yeah.
I think these have been in throughout history, like in the 60s, the choice point during the Vietnam era, and then we had another choice point now, another choice point coming in right now with are we going to cooperate? Or are we going to kill each other? You know, are we going to work cooperatively? Or are we going to be in competition? And I think that's always been there, but it's really loud now. And I think the choice is to, kind of sit with all the people that are trying to pull people along and enlighten and help each other. And then in turn, that'll help other people. At least it'll raise the vibration.
Yeah, well,
Collective.
it's creating the bifurcation that we're seeing worldwide in the population is going to probably be exacerbated and continue.
Mm,
Those that are not ready to make the decision are very, very uneasy right now.
Hmm.
Those that have made the decision to go to the service to self are entering into a very stressful period for them because their fear of losing their
What you
posture.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're choosing service to self, then you're choosing to dominate and subjugate others because you have to extract from others the sources of energy that you're surrendering by choosing the service to self. You're choosing to
Okay.
polarize separate from the creator.
All right. I have a question for you. Can you
Okay.
explain what you mean by service to self? Do you mean, because I'm really confused with that idea. So I'm sure my listeners are like, what does that actually mean? So service to self in my estimation means to grow self to be in service with your light to others. That's how I see it, but I don't
No,
know if
it's
that's
just the
what you
opposite of
mean.
that.
So
Yeah,
what do you
it's
mean?
a
Can you explain?
matter of choosing to enhance this hierophant that we create and to segregate yourself from unity with the creator. And you can follow that path for many, many, many ranges of consciousness and gain significant power. But we are all fueled constantly by what is called intelligent energy, which is
Mm-hmm.
a source of energy directly from our higher self.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're choosing to alienate yourself from unity with the Creator, then you're choosing to surrender that source of energy. But you still have to have the energy. You can't exist in creation without it. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to get it from other sources. Well, the other source that is most viable is the range of consciousness that we are all experiencing because we have enough energy in order to make it worth their while to extract that energy from us, but we're not smart enough to know that we're not supposed to give it away.
Hmm.
And so we have been influenced by the service to self factions of creation. Those choosing the service to others are choosing to surrender, incrementally change, surrender this false perception of self, allow more of our authentic self to emerge and align through the rest of our evolutionary process by aligning with the creator, the unity. The service to self um, can go a long ways and gain great powers, but you can't be in unity and separate from the creator at the same time. And so they reach a point that is described as a brick wall that you can't go any further. And it is that point that they have to surrender all of the power that they have gained and go back and start over and follow the path of unity to the Creator. And that is what we're seeing in the earthly population at a very elementary level. But
Mm-hmm.
it's also what has been one of the things that has been so difficult for the earthly population to evolve is because we have been dominated and subjugated. We have been genetically manipulated, and we have been given lots of false information that
Mm-hmm.
diverts us from knowing what it is that we're supposed to be doing.
I see. Yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know if I quite wrap my head around all that, but I do know, like for me, I believe that the creator is not just the man on the hill. It's like in everything, and it's fused in all creation and all that is, and everything is in this giant matrix of energy. And I think God is not a person; it's this gigantic energy field that is with all of us that's infused in everything. So that's the way I always look at God. It's like we're pieces of this energy, and we can draw from it. We can draw from the universal field, but we're all part of this energetic field of vibration, and that's kind of how I see just energy in general. I don't see it as a religion per se. I see it as the energy of all that is. Like that's how I
Uh,
view it.
well,
I don't know if that's in alignment with you or not, but
yeah, well,
it's
the
just
concept of
interesting.
God is a religious concept,
Yeah.
and it is predicated upon the belief that you are separate from the Creator.
No, I
That
think we're
this
part of it.
Creator is some entity. You know, George Carlin used to describe it an invisible man that lives in the clouds is not good with money. But the reality is we are the one infinite creator experiencing ourselves at this range of consciousness.
Yeah, I believe we co-create with this energy. So it is part of us, almost like the ocean of energy is the ocean, and we are I see it as the droplet that
Yeah.
comes in, and that's our higher self. And then when we die, this droplet goes back into all that is. So it's kind of I see it as a co-creation with spirit. That's kind of how I've always viewed it.
Well, we are co-creation by virtue of our perception of uniqueness, of
Hmm.
autonomy allows us to co-create. If
Hmm.
we didn't perceive ourselves as separate, there would not be that creation capability because we would have no perception of self.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. So you also have life's answers to existential blah, 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 questions. Is that part of your podcast or is that the book? Because I know,
That's one of the books that I've written. I've written so far 4 books,
okay, so Edifying Children of a Lesser God, Answers to Life's Existential Questions. That's a book.
right?
Enigma of Consciousness. That's another one.
Right.
I don't have your other Enlightenment Plain and Simple. Is that a book or that's your podcast?
That's a book.
And the Identity Model, Understanding and Healing Mankind, Stress and Suffering.
Right. That's a book
Okay,
also.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that you do a lot with mindfulness. So when you're working with a population of people, like you were saying in the mental health field, how do you start with them to develop their sense of mindfulness? Is it through, again, the meditation practice or just really noticing things around them? Like, how do you begin that shift for them when they're so like off of where they should be
Well,
energetically?
let me uh, first provide some understanding with mindfulness.
Okay.
When we develop a meditation practice, we essentially are allowing ourselves to discover a part of us that is already there,
Right.
but we allow ourselves to visit, to live in the village,
Mm-hmm.
which we're doing right now. You and I
Yeah.
are in the
Yeah.
village right now, and all problems exist in the village. So when we learn
Mm-hmm.
to meditate, we're allowing ourselves to go to the guru cave for some
Mm-hmm.
period of time when we meditate, and there are no problems in the guru's cave.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like a mini vacation. You
Mm-hmm.
go and you gain your perspectives of you in life and so forth. And then mindfulness is learning to take that perspective, that frame of being with you back when you go into the village. And so
Love that.
you no longer are subject to the whims and arrows of outrageous fortune that the problems of the village create.
Mm-hmm.
But the folks in the mental health that I'm working with in mental health are not to that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
They are in a great degree of chaos. They are experiencing lots of stress, invariably because of the stress and the suffering that they create as a result of this hierophant that they've created.
Mm-hmm.
And so consequently, it's a much more simplistic process and what I focus on is healing trauma.
Right.
And
Okay.
when you heal trauma, the trauma is a seed for all the PTSD
Oh,
and aberrant
yes.
behavior. When
Mm-hmm.
you heal the traumas, then oftentimes, if they're more on the functional scale, they can begin to heal those distortions of perception themselves. If not, it makes it possible for the therapist to work with them to help them
Mm-hmm.
put the pieces of the puzzle together.
There you go.
But I don't try to work with the folks that are more severely um, aberrant in their behavior and their perspectives. They're still relying on chemical treatments in order just to find a point of stability. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have the time or the honestly the patience to work with them over an extended period of time.
Yeah.
But I do try to teach others who do have that patience of
Mm-hmm.
how to work with them.
That's good. I know that the trauma and stresses are also held in the body. So I know that it's not only like up here, but any unresolved traumas and stresses begin to affect the body. They can affect the chakras and how you go through life and your health. And that I think that's why it's so important for people to make shifts and choices that
Well,
align with higher self.
yeah, it manifests in the
It
body
does,
because the body
absolutely.
is the brain
Carriage.
particularly is part of the mind. The mind tells the brain how to be.
Right.
And so the brain becomes, if you think of it like the front end alignment in your car, if the front end alignment in your car is off, you're going to keep wearing out your tires in the same sort of pattern,
Mm-hmm.
and you can perpetually change the tires as they wear
Mm-hmm.
out, or you can fix the alignment.
Fix the pattern. Yes,
Yeah, and that way you
absolutely.
don't have to keep changing the tires. So if you change the instruction from the mind to the brain, then the brain no longer keeps you within those aberrant behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the benefits of using hallucinogenics in mental health treatment. It gives the patient the opportunity to not be restricted by the condition of the brain that the mind has created. And so
Right.
they get this peek behind the
Step
curtain. This is
outside
what
it.
it would be like if you didn't have that brain
Interesting.
misalignment.
It's I had two of my clients had gone away to do the Iwagasa. I think that's
Yeah,
how you say it, right?
ayahuasca.
Oh, there you go. I can never say that word. And they had amazing experiences, and it did create shifts. I think if I was really brave, I would do it, but I don't do any of that. So, but I think that it was a very cool thing to hear their experience of how it shifted them and how they were in this state where they were able to meet their guides and their,
Hmm.
their angels and such. So I'm going to ask you if you had an experience with that, or have you, during your own meditation, been able to either astral travel or speak with your guides or energies?
I speak with my home group every day.
Okay.
We have an ongoing conversation, and I know who they are, and I know
Okay.
my past lives. I
I
know
do.
my
Yeah.
involvement, all of that. We covered that a long time ago.
I love that.
And yeah.
Yeah. So what's one of the most for you, what's one of the most powerful past lifetimes you've had? And I know it's happening now and then it's all together, but is there one that impacted who you are in your journey today the most? That you would
Not
say that's the one that got me.
Well, I'm part of the social memory complex of my higher self, and so my involvement in the Earth population, I've only had four incarnations as a human. This is
Okay.
my fourth one. I've had two as female and two as male.
Okay.
But my history goes back about 850,000 years and begins on what we now call Venus, which used to be called Zenoa. It was
Mm-hmm.
Zenoa for hundreds of thousands or millions of years
Okay.
until we, um, as a population, destroyed the environment. And so consequently, we had to leave. And we went from there to Maldek. And Maldek is the asteroid belt that is around in our solar system outside of
Okay.
Mars.
Okay.
We were there, we were occupants of there, and we blew the whole planet up.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we blew that whole planet up, we were shipped off. We had to do some recovery, and we actually, large numbers of us came to Earth as Bigfoot. And Bigfoot is
Okay.
actually who we would be if we had not been genetically manipulated. And the reason we can't find Bigfoot is the Bigfoot populations live within the earth and they are interdimensional. And so
That's
they
what
just,
I always thought they were interdimensional because that's why they can't find like, anything
yeah,
other than an occasional footprint.
yeah.
That's
Because
cool.
they just
Yeah.
blip out of our perception range.
Yes.
And then after that, we were shipped to Mars and we blew the atmosphere off of Mars. And then we came to Earth and we just finished our first, the third density is the range that we're all experiencing right now. Has a specified beginning and ending that is approximately 75,000 years. And
Mm-hmm.
they're divided into three stages and you have curriculum to follow as you go through that. We finished our first successful third density experience in February of 2016 and immediately started another one. But simultaneous to that, we also began a fourth density parallel experience. And large numbers of the children, and a lot of them have
Mm.
been called star children, they're
Yeah.
actually fourth density children that will be beginning a parallel fourth density experience, and their purpose is they're just now maturing to assume responsibility, for social functions. And
What year would that be? You're saying
well,
when the children, because I was seeing, I was
the
a school
odd
teacher.
fives, plus or minus in there.
Yeah.
And so large portions of the population, the children that have been born since early, 2000s, up through the 20s, and they're just reaching their early 20s now, and we're seeing that. And
Mm-hmm.
some, we have reports of children that are remarkable pianists or whatever, and
Mm,
that's just they're demonstrating their fourth density capabilities, and they don't think anything about it. They just assume, well, why can't everybody can do this? You
brilliant.
just sit
Yeah.
down and do it.
Yeah, it's
But those are
interesting.
demonstrations of their
Yeah.
higher consciousness. But as they mature, then they will become the guides to transform our social interactions in governments and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn by observing others, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how all of consciousness learns. We observe others that we deem to be happier than we are, and so
Mm-hmm.
we begin to mimic that until we eventually become that. And Earth has been devoid of those models. We haven't been
Mm-hmm.
able to generate that from within, and so the Jesuses and the Buddhas and the Lao
Mm-hmm.
Tzus, they're just temporary models to try to
Mm-hmm.
give us
To
some
give us some help.
some help. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I was a teacher for many years, and I saw an influx of some of these kids come in. Like I retired in 2014, but
Hmm.
I saw an influx of these high spirit kids come in, and we would do like I had an activity where the kids would make mandalas, and I was teaching in public school, so I called it
Hmm.
just like like an awareness circle. And these kids would draw something, and they would come up with amazing things like this is the connection between the earth and the children. This is the connection between the energy of the animals. Now, these are
Right.
8-year-olds, and they
Yeah.
were amazing. And the other thing I saw was some of these kids that come in with autism were high spirit kids that were not grounded to the earth.
Right. Well,
And they had
autism, they're
amazing,
interdimensional
amazing
also.
information. Oh yeah, definitely. There was definitely something because I also channeled readings for some of these kids, and they are high spirit kids, but they're
Yeah.
so ungrounded to this energy of earth that they feel awkward and odd and to it, but yet they're very high spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's very odd to them because they look around, well, why are these people so stupid?
Yeah, exactly. I've done the same at times, I have to say.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Uh, all right. What was the quality, like, if you would say, like, the quality you wish people had more of, what would it be to you that you would say, oh, I wish everybody knew that quality? What would it be for you that you would
Well, the third density is tasked with awareness, learning
awareness?
awareness. It is the foundational inherent characteristic of the creator. And so, in
Hmm.
order to graduate to the next range of consciousness, it is incumbent upon us to learn the curriculum of this range of consciousness, which includes becoming awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you have to do the third grade work successfully in order to be prepared to do the work of fourth grade.
That's
And
right.
it's the same thing. We're learning the curriculum of third density in preparation of being able to do the work of fourth density. The fourth density will do the same thing with love. Love
Mm-hmm.
is not an emotion, it is an inherent
Vibration.
characteristic of the creator.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth density will become love in preparation for graduating for the fifth density. Fifth density will do the same thing with wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
which is the next inherent characteristic.
Yes.
They will graduate to sixth density, which is the higher self level. It is the beginning of the creator being level.
Mm-hmm.
And they will do the same thing with unity, and then graduate to seventh density and do the same thing with stillness.
Mm-hmm.
And so each of those gives us the opportunity to again surrender our perceptions of separation, and which is the distortion that allows creation to exist.
Mm-hmm.
But we, in each step, we explore ourselves and thereby explore the one infinite creator from the perspective of that inherent characteristic until we eventually dissolve all of that and begin the one infinite creator again.
I love that. It reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy, where you're self-actualized at a certain point, but you've got to go through all this like ego death, I guess, and levels to get to the self-actualized point. And that sounds kind of like this is the next step of, okay, I'm self-actualizing. Where do I go from here? And then it continues to enlighten. So it's kind of interesting how a lot of these things have been around for ages, but it's
Hmm.
now kind of being all interwoven, like
Right,
an infinity. It's all
right.
interwoven right now.
Yeah, David Hawkins has a great book called The Eye of the Eye, is
Mm-hmm.
the eyeball of the eye, and he explains it quite well that all we're doing is exploring ourselves, which is the purpose of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And in our purpose, no consciousness has any different purpose. Our purpose is to explore ourselves. Our mission is unique, predicated upon simply what we like, and therein is the uniqueness of us, our
Mm-hmm.
self-exploration.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to learn what we don't like in order to know what we do like when we encounter it. So we have a lot of
Yeah.
stress and suffering in our attempts to control our life experience.
I think a lot of it is when you are resonating with that kind of that feeling of love and openness, then you
Hmm.
know it's aligned with your truth. And for me, that's what I always know. If I'm not feeling that, like, oh, that like that feeling, and it
Hmm.
could be with anything, it could be with someone you meet, it could be a thing you do. It has a certain vibration to it, and when it hits you and it's resonant, it just has a different feeling. And that's
Well,
kind of how, our bodies will be hardwired to help us if we're tuning in.
hmm well,
Yeah.
our the resonance is our authentic self emerging. The more that
Yeah.
we surrender our hierophant, our false
Mhm.
perception of self, the
Mhm.
more our authentic self emerges, the less stress we experience, and the
Yeah.
greater happiness we enjoy.
That's right. I totally agree with that. I think the hard part is, it's always making that conscious choice to move ahead when something doesn't resonate with your higher self or with your authentic self. And
Hmm.
sometimes that means moving away or away from situations or people that are not resonant with that energy. And that's a
Hmm.
hard thing to do, especially if you're always trying to be the good person and the loving person. I'm like, wait a minute now, that doesn't resonate. And I think we all are on this kind of journey together to learn this, to kind
Sure.
of
Yeah.
bring
Well, we're
that
both
love
teacher
back.
and student in every experience that we
Everything.
have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. When the student is ready, right? The teacher
That's
appears.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. See. Oh, so I want to ask if people want to contact you for some of the things that you do, what is
Hmm.
your website address or how they could find you?
Okay. Well, all of my contact information and all the stuff that I do is available on my website. It's the initial Dean, Dean, Graves, all one word, .org.
Perfect.
And, they can schedule appointments with me to deal with the traumas, and the traumas go
Mhm.
away very quickly with the methods that
Mhm.
I use. And by quickly, I mean in 10 to 15 minutes.
Hmm.
And but all my books are referenced there. The website, the podcasts are linked there,
Love that.
and the pods and both podcasts are readily available on Spotify and Apple
Hmm.
Podcasts and all the major vendors of podcasts.
That's
Um,
beautiful. So question, because I'm very intrigued what you said. So you said trauma can be released quickly. So
mhm.
when you're working with a client, are you working in a way that you're hypnotizing that? Or they're like I know we hypnotize ourselves, but do you use hypnosis? Is it talk therapy? Is it bringing energy to them? How would you do this so quickly? Because I think that's
Well,
fascinating.
understand that what we perceive and experience to last some period of time.
Right.
But actually, that perceived experience is comprised of dozens of thoughts.
Okay.
Every single thought, in and of itself, is a complete experience. And
Mm-hmm.
before we can go to the next thought, we are obligated to make a decision about that thought. And that
Okay.
thought, very simply, is does this thought feel good and I like it, or it doesn't feel good and I don't like it? It
Okay.
doesn't matter as long as we make that decision, we've adjudicated that experience.
Right.
When we have a perceived experience that is stressful because we don't like it, we may enter into um, one or more thoughts that are so challenging to the authenticity of our hierophant, our false perception of self, that we cannot make that decision on some of those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for those thoughts, usually between 1 and 5, usually no more than one or two thoughts
Mm-hmm.
out of that whole perceived experience, are so challenging to our perception of self that we go into a condition of shock for that one thought. And
Right.
so the stream of experiences has a void in it, has a vacant space.
Okay.
And so, again, using awareness, all that I do is help them focus awareness on that moment, and invariably they know what the moment is. I've
Mm.
never found anybody that can't find that a moment that is reasonably functional. Of course, some of the mentally ill patients that are less functional can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But for any that I would say
Typically.
reasonably functional person can focus their awareness on that moment. We make that adjudication. It doesn't matter whether they like it or don't like it, but they complete that process, and the entire traumatic experience loses its trauma effect.
Huh. Interesting.
We do it. In 30 minutes, I can usually do three, maybe four moments or experiences. A lot of people will have three or four
Yeah.
experiences, just
Well,
one moment in each of those experiences, but their similarity of their interpretation of it, so we can click them off real quickly.
that's fascinating. And that's a wonderful thing that you offer. Okay. So I think we're coming up on the end. Do you have any last thoughts before I close out the show today?
I've enjoyed our chat tremendously. I encourage your
Too.
audience to keep in mind a little mantra: be the change that you want to see in the world,
That's
which
it.
is from Mahatma Gandhi.
Yep, yep. I have that listed in my office actually.
Well, he was one of the models that
He was.
rank up there with Jesus and Buddha
Oh,
and Lao Tzu
yes.
and all of those. So he was a very
Absolutely.
very good messenger.
Beautiful. Yes, yes. Okay, so I thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure, and I love to hear your thoughts. So that was a beautiful experience for me. And this has been the Lightwalker's Path. I hope everyone subscribes to the show and contacts you, Dean, or me. And you can learn more about my workshops, sessions, books, and hear more of my podcasts at rosemaryd.com. So thank you so much, Dean. Loved our time together.
Thank you. Likewise, Rosemary.
Okay.